Jeff Bezdek.
Hi, Mayor and Council. It wouldn't be natural for me not to come with something. My name is Jeff Bezdek. My address is 1015 North Broadway, Suite 120. And I've served on the Map Street Transit Subcommittee, and I've also served on these other committees that have been discussed earlier. I want to discuss where the streetcar project came from and the unprecedented public input process that we have had. There have been some comments. There's certainly been many suggestions by a few councilors that we have designed this route in a silo, or that there is uncouth activity going on in terms of developing this project. The project origins come from the Fixed Guideway study. And so that started in 2005. And we've listed out the campaign. I did not count the meetings, the public meetings we had during the campaign. And then the actual Let's Talk Transit public input process, the alternatives analysis meetings, the intermodal hub study for Santa Fe Station, and then the subcommittee process and all the meetings that we've had this year. We have had 104 public meetings. 104. This is unprecedented in modern city history to have this level of citizen input. And I'd like to point out very strongly that during the Let's Talk Transit process, we solicited route ideas from all citizens. And we migrated through careful counseling with our consultants to the proposal, and we're still not done because we still need more information of the route proposed to you today. I'd like to close with a few things. There's been an extraordinary amount of misinformation propagated about this project. This is supposed to be the centerpiece for the larger regional metropolitan transit system of the future. We're not just building this streetcar for the city of today. We're building it to be the centerpiece of the future commuter rail and enhanced bus system that will connect Edmond to Norman, Midwest City to downtown. And without that critical core part to pick people up and drop people off, without the use of a car to the Santa Fe Hub facility, that overall system does not work. I would like to address Ward 7 and the Northeast side. This subcommittee recognizes that there are some extraordinary opportunities in terms of lesser cost solutions to serve Ward 7. And we fought as a committee before this body to have alignment study to Ward 7 because we thought that it would be a pragmatic thing to do in this system plan because it hadn't been properly studied by the Fixed Guideway study. It really hadn't. There's an opportunity in the future to connect Remington Park, the Adventure District, all through Ward 7, 23rd Street, all the way down to the streetcar in the core area. But you still have to have that core area. We simply don't have the funds to reach far out into Ward 7 without the base system. And regarding the Greyhound station, that needs to go to the intermodal hub. That's where it needs to go.
Jeff, you're at your 3.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I hope you vote for the route.
Jeff, can I ask you a question real quick? How of the groups that were meeting, how much minority representation is on the subcommittee or that participated in these meetings?
We solicited and put out to everyone to have attendance. What has happened is transit has been elevated, and there are a lot more people participating in the process than were originally involved. But since 2005, significant elements of all parts of our city were incorporated in this public process. Now, as far as the committee makeup is made up right now, there were people who applied to the mayor, and the council ratified the subcommittee memberships that we currently have, and there are 10 of us. And arguably, we're very passionate about representing the interests of the city and representing the people who voted for the MAPS 3 project. Now, on the subcommittee right now, we have not had a minority member apply to be on the committee. And I think if we had had that when the committee was really formed, we would have welcomed them with open arms. Well, the slots are filled right now, but if a slot comes open and someone wants to fill it, I'm sure that you'll have the opportunity to submit an idea for someone.
Jeff, I'd like to just ask you one final question and then just put this behind us. As you know, when I went and met Mr. Gustafson, I listened last year at the Railvolution, and I asked him in a panel of 4 experts about couplets versus linear routes in cities. And the first 3 stood up and said, do not do a couplet in Oklahoma City. It doesn't, a one-way loop isn't appropriate with 2-way streets. Your streets are too far apart. It's not going to make sense for the pedestrian. You need to do a linear route out to a destination, concentrate development. 3 people in a row said that, and then finally Mr. Gustafson stood up and said, well, I like the idea of a couplet in Oklahoma City. So it occurred to me then that when we chose the consultant, we largely chose the route.
I don't agree with that.
I understand. But what makes that so important to me then is the consultant selection process. And you had 20% of the vote. We have 5 people that choose the consultant on this.
3 city staff members and 2 volunteers were
Right.
appointed to that committee.
Right.
Yes.
And while our transit director and our planning director do not have a vote, but you and another a gentleman have 40% of the vote on this project. And you made it very clear that you wanted Mr. Gustafson on the team, and that resulted in a city audit investigation.
A city audit that you filed on me.
Correct.
And you filed it on me. And I think that's also unprecedented in modern city history for you to file an audit on a volunteer, particularly after you didn't consult with me after your concerns arose. But you filed the audit on me, and I went through an extreme period of very uncomfortableness in terms of having to deal with being interrogated by the independent city auditor, among other people who are volunteers. And they found nothing. They found that I did nothing wrong. Now, Counselor, you've opened this up. You've gone there. So I'd like, since you've made this personal, I'd like to say a few things. You have said so many things to the public that are not true, not correct, not backed up by facts. Not backed up by facts. You held a transit symposium, which you gathered everyone in the room, and you railed against the streetcar, railed against the process, railed against the committee of volunteers. I have never seen anything like it in memory, in terms of the acrimony that you have personally tried to subject to this process. You have tried to sabotage a majority-approved vote by the people. The people did know what they were voting on when they went to vote for the streetcar. There were scientific polls conducted by the Oklahoma Gazette and by News 9 that demonstrated that the top 2 projects in the overall MAPS projects was the streetcar, sidewalks, and trails. And we had a clear mandate, a very clear mandate from the broader city, the public, citywide vote, that they wanted a streetcar system. Now, I understand you're talking about linear routes versus nonlinear routes. Well, look, my opinion about streetcar and how it best works in the urban environment has changed too. It has changed. The reality is you do need a hub and spoke to that central looping system. You need to reach out into the community and bring people in and serve the civic institutions which make up our downtown effectively. Now, Councilman, I have distributed basically a written rebuttal because there is not enough time today in this meeting to rebuttal everything you have said to the public and to the council, which is not true. So we've actually looked at all your public meetings, all the things you've said, and we've looked at the facts, and we've backed up the things that we're saying are contradictory in writing. Because I've never seen I've been volunteering for this city before the streetcar project. I've been volunteering on walkability issues, sidewalk issues, bus issues, and I have never seen an individual try to come in and subvert a public process.
Okay,
Thank you.
yeah.
Jeff, one final question. Jeff, the editors at the Oklahoman will not allow Mr. Lackmeyer to talk to our city auditor without your permission. My belief is that if you allow him to talk to our city auditor, it will immediately be evident that you've misled our city auditor. Will you allow Mr. Lackmeyer to tell the city auditor what he heard you speak of in terms of the route and consultant selection process?
Councilman Shadid, we had a private conversation in an elevator lobby in which, quite frankly, I don't remember exactly what all was said. What does matter is what you say in public. When you actually conduct an audit, okay, when you conduct an audit and a volunteer is cleared, when they are cleared of wrongdoing, it should end there. Thank you.
How about a motion? John, it's partly in Ward 7. You want to make the motion today? All in favor? Passes. Let the record show it passes 5-3.